Mel Kiper Jr. recently updated his 2026 NFL Draft Big Board, which includes positional rankings, etc. So we're going to take a look at some key positions and some players I'm interested in for the Bears to draft. Mostly we'll focus on guys that could be in range in the first round, but some guys later in the draft as well. My name is Harrison Graham. This is Chicago Bears Now. My top roster needs right now, and this is kind of in flux. I'm still in the camp of defensive line across the board is where I want to bolster the unit, even though literally safety from a just who you have on the roster should be number one because they're all free agents. I think they're going to get Kevin Byard back. It's not as impactful a position as pass rusher. So edge rusher, D-tack, 1A, 1B. It could go really either way there. I've raised left tackle a little bit. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean draft one in the first round, but left tackle is a premium position, and they don't currently have a clear-cut starter for week one. Safety, obviously, you need to add there, and then I think linebacker as well if Tremaine Edmunds gets cut, which I do expect to happen. Now, the Bears draft capital for 2026, they have a pick in every round except for the 6th, and they have 2 7th-round picks because, remember, they did that late-round pick swap for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. So 7 draft picks in total, including 3 in the top 90. Some people out there still think the Bears could get draft picks for the Ian Cunningham situation, but I've seen no indication that that's the case. I guess we'll see when the NFL announces comp picks, but that appears to be unlikely at this point in time. All right, can we top it? Last year we did the same video in terms of Mel Kiper big board updates and draft targets from his big board. Last year we got 69 new subscribers. Nice. On that video. Can we get 70 plus? If you're new here, we're dropping daily Bears content. I would love to top that number as we continue to grow this channel. Hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. Real quick, these are Kiper's top 10 overall prospects, which obviously will be tough for the Bears to get, considering they're picking 25th overall. Fernando Mendoza, who's going to go to the Raiders. Jeremiyah Love is his second prospect. Could dip a bit, but he's not going to fall to the Bears. Carnell, Tate, Arvell, Reese, couple of Buckeyes there. David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State. Rueben Bain Jr., the Miami edge rusher. Francis Mauigoa, the offensive tackle out of Miami. Sonny Styles, the Ohio State linebacker. And then Jordyn Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. Chicago's picking 25th overall, so unlikely they would get any of these players unless they were to trade up. Obviously, those players won't necessarily be the first 10 picks, but it's unlikely for like the 7th best prospect to fall to 25. So did want to just mention that. Okay, Kiper's a boomer, so he separates defensive end and outside linebacker, even though the rest of the draft community just combines them as edge rushers. So just kind of go through both categories here. Rueben Bain Jr. and Akheem Mesidor, the two guys out of Miami. Obviously, Bain is not going to be someone they can get, but maybe Mesidor falls given his age. Keldrick Falk is interesting. I think he fits the Dennis Allen profile as a big physical edge rusher. Zion Young, I think, is someone who could be in play there. Now, there is a report of a DWI that may have happened recently there, so we'll see if there's more clarity on that situation. Obviously, the Bears have been pretty careful under Ryan Poles with the character stuff, so we'll see if there's more info there come the NFL Combine. Dennis Sutton, the Penn State edge rusher, who I think is flying under the radar. Then you get to some later guys, Caden Curry, LT Overton, who I'm not huge on, but I'm curious to see how he does in the pre-draft process. Jack Pyburn, Max Llewellyn, and then Vincent Anthony Jr. And then you get to outside linebackers, again, edge prospects. David Bailey out of Texas Tech, Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, TJ Parker out of Clemson, R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma as you get into more day 2 guys, Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee, Jay Sean Barham out of Michigan, Derek Moore out of Michigan, who had a really good day or Senior Bowl. He could be in play on day 2. I like Romello Height on day 2 as well, the other Tech rusher. Kieran Crawford out of Auburn, and then Nadami Tucker out of Western Michigan. Again, Kiper's a boomer, so to me, I would consolidate defensive end and outside linebackers together as edge rushers, which I think NFL teams do. Now, obviously, they have different profiles, bigger edges, quicker edges, smaller guys, etc. But that's just not the way he does it. These are 5 guys that I think could be in play for the Bears at 25, or maybe in a small trade up. Akheem Mesidor, we'll see if he's there at 25. He could fall there to his age. If it's best purely on ability, he would probably go earlier. Keldrick Falk, he's kind of a wide-ranging guy. I see some guys like him as a top 12-ish player. Some like him like late round 1, early day 2. So he could be there at 25. TJ Parker had a good week at the Senior Bowl, so we'll see if he's still there at 25. Zion Young seemed to have elevated himself as a round 1 guy, potentially at the Senior Bowl. Again, we'll keep an eye on the DWI thing. And then Cassius Howell, who I don't think is really a Dennis Allen prototype, but is a talented speed rusher that has limitations in the run game, so he could fall a little bit as well. Okay, let's go to defensive tackle now. Caden McDonald, who's been mocked to the Bears a lot, he's like a classic. Anywhere between 20 and 35 is probably where he's going to go in the draft. Peter Woods has been dipping a bit. He could be in play at 25. Caleb Banks seems to be rising back up. If that medical checks out with that foot, you could argue he's the most talented defensive tackle in the draft. Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, a lot of people have him as a round 1 guy after his Senior Bowl week. Kristen Miller out of Georgia, fringe round 1, round 2 guy. Darrell Jackson, probably second round. Dominique Orange, same. Tim Keenan, maybe more like third, fourth round. Xavier Harris, third, fourth, probably. And then Cameron Ball out of Arkansas, probably day 3. I do think the names you're going to hear a lot connected to the Bears are Caden McDonald, Caleb Banks, and Lee Hunter. I think you're going to hear those names a lot. They all play the run well, and they all have some upside as pass rushers. I think Caleb Banks is the biggest boom bust out of the 3. If he hits, I think he could be special. I think McDonald somewhere in the middle, and then I think Lee Hunter, you could argue, could be like a higher floor player. Maybe he's not an all-pro, but he was pretty damn dominant at the Senior Bowl, so excited to see what he can do in the NFL. But those are 3 names I expect to hear linked to the Bears quite a bit throughout the draft process. Who would you rather, or where would you rather go in round 1, defensive tackle or edge? I think this largely depends on what happens in free agency. If you if you sign a Khalil Mack or a Trey Hendrickson, maybe you'd lean defensive tackle. If you sign a David Onyemata, maybe you'd lean more with an edge rusher like an Akheem Mesidor. Now, you'd still want to go BPA. I just think you need to get better along your D-line regardless, but I do think a lot of that will be predicated on the direction they go in with free agency, which obviously comes first. All right, we'll take a look at some more prospects on Mel Kiper's updated big board and some guys I like for the Chicago Bears. But got to tell you about our awesome sponsor, Prize Picks first. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. New feature alert. Take advantage of it. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. This is also important. Prize Picks offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half of the big game and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Now, pretty much a guaranteed win unless he gets hurt on the first play of the game and doesn't complete a pass. Drake May, big game max discount, half a passing yard. You obviously get the more on that. And then all you got to do is pair it with one other player. You could pair it with 5 other players, 2 to 6 player lineups on Prize Picks where you take more or less on stat projections available. Tons available for the big game. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Take advantage of the big game as football is coming to an end. Okay, top offensive tackle prospects from Kiper. I really do like Francis Mauigoa. Now, he's not going to fall to 25. Even if he did, would the Bears take him? Can he play left tackle? Would you flip Darnell right? I don't know. I'd be tempted to try to figure something out if he was at 25, but I don't think he falls anyway, so it's a moot point. I think him and Spencer Fano are gone. Fano, excuse me. These other guys could be there, though. I mean, Caleb Lomu, a left tackle, would you consider taking him? Maybe. Caden Proctor's obviously a fascinating player given his size and athleticism combo. Monroe Freeling is an athletic left tackle. I could see Ben Johnson liking him. Then you get to more day 2 guys. Caleb Tiernan, Jennings, Dunker. Dunker had a good week at the Senior Bowl. Some view him more as a guard. Brian Parker out of Duke, Isaiah World out of Oregon, and then Blake Miller out of Clemson. I don't think the Bears would go tackle round 1, even if they know, let's say Ozzie Trapillo in the back of their minds, he's not playing this year. I think they'd have to love somebody to take a tackle in the first round. Now, again, if Mauigoa or Fano fell, it's like, well, it's almost too good to pass up. Then, yeah, maybe you take one of those players, play him at left tackle, or flip Darnell to the left side. Those are certainly options on the table, but I don't think, at least, again, think the Bears will go tackle in the first round, but it's the draft. You never know. If it's a BPA situation, they might. Okay, top safety prospects, obviously Caleb Downs. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who I mocked to the Bears in my last mock out of Toledo. He's a really fun player, versatile safety, as is Dylan Thieneman. Now, Kiper, again, being a boomer, has Kyle Lewis as a safety. Now, he could play safety in the NFL. He's kind of a safety linebacker hybrid, but I think in today's NFL, he's more of like a rangy linebacker. Kamari Ramsey out of USC, Zaki Wheatley out of Penn State. He's lower on A.J. Halsey. I like Halsey a lot. I'd probably kind of pencil him in there between 2 and 4 somewhere. I like Downs and McNeil-Warren better. I'd go probably back and forth with him and Thieneman. Jalen Kilgore out of South Carolina. Then you got Genesis Smith and Deshaun Singleton wrapping up his top 10. I do think McNeil-Warren and Thieneman are two names to watch. A, they could both be in play at 25, and B, they're very versatile players. And Ben Johnson, or Dennis Allen, likes defensive backs that can do different things. Mix it up in the run game, play in man coverage, play that center field role. These two guys, I think, can do all of that. They can match up in one-on-one, so they're willing tacklers. I think those are ideal guys to pair with Kevin Byard, who I think they're going to bring back. Side note, I mentioned this thing. I think Kyle Lewis is more of a linebacker in the NFL. Now, he could play some safety, and again, that versatility is appealing, but I think if I'm drafting him, I'm trying to play him as like a sub-package linebacker, and maybe in certain packages he's kind of more of like a box safety or something like that. But I think he's more of a backer in the NFL. Speaking of linebacker, Arvell Reese, who, again, Kiper being a boomer, I think he's probably more of an edge rusher in the NFL, but we'll see. It could depend on the team. Sonny Styles, I'll tell you what, if he fell to 25, I'd be tempted. C.J. Allen could be an option at 25. I think 25 is a little rich for Anthony Hill, but it could be a trade-down guy. Early round 2 is kind of more where I like him. Jake Golday out of Cincinnati sitting there as well. Josiah Trotter out of Missouri. Torian York out of A&M. Bama's Justin Jefferson. Jacob Rodriguez, obviously, he earned himself some money at the Senior Bowl. I think he's a firm day 2 guy. I love him in the 3rd round. 57 feels a little early for him, but maybe you trade down, take him early 3rd, something like that. If he's there at 89, I think it's like sprint to the podium type deal. His instincts are incredible. Curious to see how he tests at the Combine, but he more than held his own at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he's winning one-on-one drills, which are designed for the offensive player to win. So I thought he was pretty impressive and obviously put up a hell of a career in college, especially the last couple of years at Texas Tech. Okay, bigger Bears needs, safety or linebacker? I think by default for now it is safety, but if you say you have Kevin Byard on board, you could argue it's linebacker. So you guys let me know, safety or linebacker, what is the bigger need? I'll go ahead and throw running backs in here too before we get out of here. Obviously, Jeremiyah Love, you're not going to get him, but he'd obviously be awesome on this team. Jadarian Price, could Ben fall in love with him too? He's pretty explosive. He can be a kick returner. If you had forward thinking, him and Monangai could be your 1-2 punch. Now, if you drafted him, would you flip off of Swift later in the draft? Maybe trade him for a late round pick or just cut him? I don't know. We'll see. They'd have to really like Price to go that route. Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska, mixed opinions on him and Jonah Coleman. I like Katron Allen a lot more than Nick Singleton, and I believe Singleton got hurt at the Senior Bowl. That's right. So he's not going to participate at the Combine, so that hurts his status. Damon Claiborne sitting there. Mike Washington was a winner from the Senior Bowl. He's got good size and speed, over 6 foot, 220 pounds. So if he runs well, he could be a guy I'd be pretty intrigued with. Le'Veon Moss out of A&M, and then Seth McGowan out of Kentucky. Again, I don't think they'll take a running back early. Now, if Price is there at 57, where most people think he's a top 40, 45 pick, I could see them thinking about it. But I think if they take one, all things equal, you're probably talking day 3. Maybe you throw a dart with one of your 7th-round picks, come compete with Roschon Johnson for RB3, something like that. But things can change. Things are fluid. If Ben Johnson views one of these guys as like a game-changing weapon, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, he's always looking to find mismatched players offensively. All right, that's going to do it. Some Bears names to watch, draft targets to watch based on Mel Kiper's big board at some key positions that Chicago could be monitoring. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Let's top 69 new subscribers. Bear down.